Welcome to the Three Body Narrative. We are your hosts, Pradyum, Aaron, and welcome home, stranger.
Okay. I'm back
Yo, what's up? It's
from my
Naeem.
20-year journey. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
it's Naeem. He's eaten all of his crewmates and he's back home.
Hello, everyone.
So, we are here to discuss everything pop culture, movies, TV shows, games, you name it. And for today's episode, well, I guess we spoiled it enough. It is the Odyssey. So
The Odyssey.
what is the Odyssey all about? Well, following the Trojan War, Odysseus embarks on a dangerous journey home, facing mythical creatures, relentless challenges, and impossible choices in an epic tale of survival, courage, and a search for home. All right. So before we get to, I guess whatever it is, we start with our ratings for this episode, and for this movie rather, not this episode. We're not rating our episode. That'd be crazy. So this movie, I guess we will start with Naeem. Take the lead.
Cool. I'll place my rating towards the end of this, I suppose. So I'll start off with the things that I really liked. Matt Damon's acting, absolutely brilliant as Odysseus. I have to call out Batman for his short screen, like doesn't have too much time on screen. I'm talking about
Pattinson.
yes.
Pattinson. Oh, right. I was like,
Why do you
where's
look
Bale?
so
I was
lost?
like, where's Bale? Yeah.
Robert Pattinson, definitely. I absolutely loved his portrayal of that character. Left me confused initially about does he actually have any sort of goodwill there in terms of wanting to protect the family or not. Like I was a little confused. Eventually, it becomes absolutely clear whether that is the case or not. There is this one line he kind of like spews out that was like brilliant for me and like very, very good. And I absolutely love that. I think from a casting perspective, no doubt that everyone who was cast into a specific role lived up to that role quite well. Um, there are issues with the pacing for me, in the sense that the first 40 minutes of the movie, I was really worried whether this is going to be the first Nolan movie that I have watched that I'm not gonna like. But I'm glad that it kind of really turns it around in the time that is to follow. It is a 3 hour, almost a 3 hour runtime movie, so it's quite long, taxing from that perspective. But like, it, for me, usually it's like towards the end of the movies where you start feeling it. In this movie, it was kind of the opposite, where I had that feeling at the beginning of the movie as opposed to the end of it. By the end of it, I was like really hooked. Um, Loved it very much so. And I think of like all the doubts that I had in the first 40 minutes kind of like really went away. I love the horror aspects that are there. Like for a Nolan movie, that seemed like I have personally not seen too much of that. So it was kind of insane to see. One scene that really kind of stood out was the one with the disfiguration and the
Hmm.
recreation of
Cersei.
one species into another. That was insane. Um, yeah, all in all, like the direction, obviously you can't like. I mean, the first 40 minutes had me doubting him, but then the remaining time was like, okay, like it's him, it's fine, kind of makes it. But I genuinely think that if you are to watch this movie, then it is absolutely necessary for you to kind of have some amount of knowledge about Homer's poem, right? It is a
Yeah.
poem, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
And for you to be able to kind of understand the whole picture of this thing. But one thing that I didn't like per se is you this movie in a lot of ways kind of leaves you with Odysseus being like this unsung hero of sorts or something. You kind of only see him as a hero. Like in my personal this thing, I saw him as a hero, but that's not entirely true. You don't see necessarily his um, key faults, that if you've kind of read the poem or you've kind of seen or heard anything about it, you kind of know about the character. Like there is good to him, but also there is a not so good part, which is, I don't think, like in this movie I felt that was focused on uh, too much from that perspective. They do kind of show bits and pieces of it, but it's not made kind of obvious, I think. I love the aspect of um, the the gods only being mentioned, but it
Mm.
being grounded in the sense that you don't actually see them, albeit one, but you kind of have to take that in terms of how you interpret that whole thing. So I'll get to that when we get to it. But out of five, I would, like, initially I was scared. I thought this was going to be like a two, but then it recovered so well for me. This is a strong 4 out of 5. It does not break into the top three Nolan movies for me, but it's still a very strong entry into Nolan's long list of brilliant movies, or like really good movies. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Following it up is Aaron.
Yeah, I think I have a slightly different take on it. Yeah, I think the parts which I would agree with was that it took a while to get into the movie. I think the initial bits were quite taxing, I guess, to the viewers, if you want to put it that way. I think it didn't help that I was also kind of with a fever and a cold and flu, so 3 hours sitting there was quite a pain in the ass. But yeah, I think in terms of the casting, I don't think it was probably the best. Yes, Matt Damon did an amazing job, and that was one that I did like. I wasn't a big fan of the portrayal of Robert Pattinson's character, to be honest. I didn't really like it. And I don't, I mean, it was nice to have a lot of the big names that were there in the movie, but I don't particularly think that that was anything that was required, or that that star power that they bought added anything particular to the characters. I thought you could have used any other good actor, regardless of the name, and the role would have been still quite justified in them being there. So yeah, I mean, it was nice that they had such a elaborate and big cast, but did it do much for me besides Matt Damon's portrayal? I don't really think so. In terms of the story, I think it was nice. Like Naeem said, there's a lot more to Odysseus than what we've seen in the movie, and so you kind of feel like that complexity of the character wasn't there. And if you're someone that likes this whole sort of history and mythology and sort of stuff, you kind of feel like, it doesn't really capture the essence of it. Uh, and I know this movie was only about Odysseus and his sort of take on the war and everything like that way. But like, just to kind of tell the viewers and stuff like that way. But like during this war, you have Achilles and so many other major characters that were there, which we understand why they're not there in the movie. But what I try to say is that there is so much complexity to this story and this entire journey, which it doesn't really necessarily capture. And obviously, this is a 3 hour movie already, and so you understand why certain things are omitted, but you kind of feel like, you don't really capture the entire essence of the movie. And so that's why I kind of feel like, I wish there was a bit more. But I think you can't fault the movie for it, because even if you were to ask me what more would you want, I really don't have an answer to that. So it was kind of a funny one for me that way. I was initially thinking I'd rate it a 2, to be honest, just because I felt like there was stuff missing. Like, again, I think even like one of those creatures that attacks the ships while they were sailing, I couldn't really tell what it was. It's only because you've read up on it, that you kind of know what was kind of there. And I think even this Cyclops kind of scene, I felt like, though there were some parts to it where you're like, oh, that was pretty cool, I kind of also felt like, was that really how you would have kind of wanted it to go? Not really. But I think eventually I kind of landed on a three, just because there were certain aspects to the movie and certain acting that was quite nice and that I liked. So some of the side characters in the crew, Matt Damon himself, some of the visuals which were really nice. And so yeah, I think I would give it a three, which may not sound a lot, but I still think like it was a solid movie at the end of it.
Yeah, cool. Uh, all right, so I'm gonna give this movie a 4 out of 5. I was maybe contemplating. I don't think I was contemplating a 4.5. I think there are elements to it which maybe I wasn't a huge fan of. So I'll go through again what I liked a lot and what I didn't. So the first one. So this, in no doubt, is probably his most epic movie in terms of the scale in which he's done it. I think, hands down, we've seen all of his movies. I think this deserved to be watched in an IMAX, and I'm glad I did. And my God, like the scale at which he was, this movie is shot at, and the locations and the cinematography and everything, unbelievable. Like especially like the Hades uh, scenes, or rather the scene where he goes to meet his undead army, right? That epic scope was insane. I think even the ways the gods were acting on, a lot of these uh, a lot of whatever on the journey back, right? The way he had a lot of those obstacles, it was nice. I think maybe to an extent I felt like at every point there was an obstacle, and I think that a little bit it was a bit draining, like, oh no, not again a siren, oh no, not again a whirlpool, oh no, not again Cersei. But that is the story. So I mean, it is a story of trial and suffering over a period of time, which I get. And uh and it's not only with this movie. I think with any movie, where it's again and again the guy is suffering, I'm like, oh come on, just put him out of his misery. But I mean, just the scale of it, the way everything was shot, the locations were brilliant. I really, really loved the score, and especially the sacking of Troy. The music that was used, the instruments, it made me feel like you were in sort of like the Mesopotamia times, or like the olden times, where I think a lot of the instruments were like the lyras or the harps. That kind of music was used, which was insane. Some of the visuals were crazy. I did like Cyclops. I like the sort of practical. I expected Cyclops to be a lot more different to what it was, and I liked that scene. The again the epicness of it. In terms of acting, I do agree with you, Aaron. I don't think like it needed the huge star cast. I was glad that I could see people that were there, and I enjoyed having to see it. I think for me, yeah, Matt Damon was great. I did like Pattinson. Anne Hathaway for me was probably the standout. I mean, the emotional aspects were brilliant there. For me, I think the other standout, and yes, we have a huge star cast, but I think for me the two standouts were Anne Hathaway and Le Guzman. I think Jonathan. No, what's his name? I forget his name. Because there's Le Guzman and there's somebody else, but I forget whatever their name is. Basically, the blind character, right?
Mm.
He was
Hmm.
he was really Leguizamo, John Leguizamo. Jonathan Guzman is the other guy. But yeah, so he was really, really good. I really could feel his pain, and the kind of the way he was going. I think for Tom Holland, I think this is probably the best movie he was in. I think in terms of performances, he was obviously not the best of the lot. I really loved Himesh Patel as well, which was
Mm.
uh, the Eurycles or whatever. I mean, names are way too complex, but it's basically Matt Damon's right hand man.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, some of the acting from that was great. For me, I think the standout scene, though, for me, and I still picture it, when the sacking of Troy, when Odysseus and Melicus and everybody opens the door, and you see Agamemnon's just presence,
Hmm.
aura of just standing there, right, and just walking while the battle ensues was insane. Like you really felt like he was the Greek emperor and king, which I don't think I got in Troy as much. I mean, I love Brian Cox, but I didn't get that as much. But here you could really feel the presence of Agamemnon, and yeah, I honestly I loved all of it. The only issue that I had was the dialogue, and I felt the dialogue was a bit too crude in a lot of places. Like having Robert Pattinson say like, "Get these bastards out of here," or you're like sniveling,
Beggars.
"Get these
Get the
beggars out of here,"
beggars
and
out of here.
yeah, and then he was like, also he also had a line which says like, "You're sniveling for your daddy like or you're pining for your daddy like some sniveling bastard." He tells Tom Holland, right? So dialogues like that, I was like, that doesn't seem very Christopher Nolan similar. You have a lot more complexity to the dialogue. The one thing I do have to say is that I don't know if I agree with you in terms of I saw Matt Damon as just the good guy. There are a lot of points there where you make it seem like where they made him seem very, very, you know, not so good in terms of the way he lies to Sinon, right? The way he probably is lying to his own comrades because whether it be for the safety or whatever, but he's still pretty, you know, not so great there. And there are elements of it later on where you see that he's not being the most truthful. And I think that there is a lot more to it. I don't agree with the fact that I saw him as this. I at least didn't see him as a true hero. I did see that there was a lot more. Maybe it was from necessity, but yeah, it's not that he was honest to a fault. Let me put it that way. So with that being said, yeah, I think 4 out of 5. Does this break into my top three? I mean, at least from the scale and everything, yeah. I mean, it's definitely his grandest movie ever. Uh, but no, I think I probably stick with my top three as it is, given that I think the complexity of characters and the stories were a lot better there. I also love the non-linear storyline being told in this movie, which was fun. And the last thing I probably leave it with this is I think this was one movie where I saw an element of every other Christopher Nolan movie, right? So whether it be something as crude as the memory loss that he has, which is from Memento, right? You see the there were other ones I can't really recall them, but from where I was like from what I was looking at, it felt like you could see different parts of the Christopher Nolan movies put into this one epic tale. And yeah, Dunkirk was there, definitely the beach scenes and stuff like that. uh, so yeah, for me overall a 4, maybe verging on a 4.5, but I think there was enough wrong in the I think there was stuff in the dialogue which made me question, like, why is he saying stuff like that? But yeah, overall, yeah. So I guess we don't want to dwell much into all of this, but anything that we want to particularly note in terms of this movie?
Yeah, I'll quickly just sum it up. Like Aaron already, like the fact that Achilles is kind of really not mentioned at all, and you don't see him even in the Trojan horse maneuver that they're pulling is kind of like, I mean, he is very critical to that story
Yeah.
that transpires before the end of the Trojan War. So it's kind of like very weird that all the others are mentioned and he's not at all, considering how key he was to it altogether.
And
Uh,
funnily enough, also, I thought when the casting was out, I thought Elliot Page was cast as Achilles
there
initially.
were rumors about it,
There
but I
were,
think never confirmed,
yeah.
right?
Okay. I didn't know if it was not confirmed, but I expected going in that it was going to be Achilles. But like the first shot is him getting shot. I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah, that's not Achilles.
that's not
Yeah, that's
Achilles.
pretty cool. I mean, not
Not for
like,
her, not for him.
yeah, not for him. Yeah, but like from a short perspective, it was pretty insane. Yeah. The other thing is like, I like how Zendaya's character is played, Athena,
Hmm.
in the sense that it's so up to your perspective on it, or you can kind of think of it in so many ways. It could actually be Athena. It could just be his consciousness in terms of making him feel like he's built that to kind of make him feel guilty or liable for all the choices that he's made, and is trying to kind of guide him through the obstacles and stuff like that. So there are endless ways to kind of look at it, as opposed to just looking at it one way. I don't know if you guys saw it differently to the way I did. I
I
kind of
probably saw it as the latter, right? Because I mean, I know that there was a scene where obviously Zendaya's head gets chopped off, but I'm guessing that you could also take that to be that he just saw
the pod.
Athena's head.
Yeah,
Yeah, like not the statue, but the actual person could have just been to him
yeah,
Athena.
like
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I guess you can leave it to your imagine. I always thought it was just the second that he obviously feels guilty. It again that also comes from that's an element that I thought he took from Oppenheimer, where obviously Oppenheimer feels guilty about building a bomb, right?
Mm,
And so here you have the same guy where you think he's good, but he's actually
yeah.
evil to some and evil to a lot of people because he sacked an entire city using a magic trick.
Yeah, so some of the things that were kind of like, from what you've been told or what you've read about the Odyssey in general, it's kind of like um, it was off-putting, especially the arc with the Cyclops.
Hmm.
It's the fact that his pride gets to him at the end, because initially he does spew that story of being, what is that thing that he says? I can't remember exactly, but he says his name is nobody or something like that, and then the story kind of moves on from when the Cyclops tells his peers or something on what's happening, and like, someone's hurt me or whatever, who's hurt you, and some
His
like
son, right? I mean, his father
nobody
is
or
who
something.
he
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It is
Poseidon.
Poseidon who
Yeah,
asks
yeah.
him, and he says it's nobody and stuff like that. And right at the end, while he's getting away, because of his pride, he says, I am Odysseus. Like, if someone asks you, say that it was me, and that then
Hmm.
leads to
The jackass, he shot an arrow at the end,
right at
unnecessary.
the end. Yeah,
So, so
yeah.
unnecessary.
That was crazy, unnecessary. So yeah, in those bits and pieces, you do see the faults that lie in the character, but not to the level that is actually portrayed in the actual poem or whatever it is, right? Like, I don't think it's brought to the front as much. It's kind of like hidden away in a more, like,
Yeah.
here the pride is shown in a more
Positive, like.
honorable, yeah, this thing, as
But
opposed to
again,
there.
I mean, this is like I think Aaron, you mentioned this is the story of Odysseus and his journey. So it's like again taking it.
How he would have told his story.
Yeah, so I'm getting again taking it from like Oppenheimer. There is a subjective and an objective part, and like the subjective bit is like you could see Oppenheimer trying to say maybe you can think of him as the good guy, but or the bad guy. So here, I think you're allowed to because it's told from one particular angle. The stories are all the music is all Odysseus is this hero because we're only hearing it from the Greek side, right? We don't hear it from the Trojan side, for whom
Yeah.
it would be. But damn man, I can't imagine. I can't believe a Christopher Nolan movie starts off with Travis Scott in the start. Like what the fuck? Like, uh yeah, it was insane.
I think the soundtrack, like you mentioned, was such a standout. And I think for me, one music that really kind of stuck in my head throughout, like, it kind of just kept playing. I felt like even like after I was home, and maybe because also Instagram is such a loop of trending stuff, so you kind of hear, and the sirens thing, the music
Hmm.
that plays, that's been going on like in my head for quite some time. And
But I love the
how
voice
that
editing though of when they put the wax in the ear and things
yeah.
just like you could feel it in IMAX. Like it just becomes so dim.
So yeah, yeah. I think I really liked. I mean, and I think it's the same person who's worked with him for Oppenheimer as well, right?
Yeah,
Uh, and if it's not, if I'm not wrong, it's the same guy from who did initially the
Last of Us.
Star Wars
Oh,
thing,
Star Wars. Is it
the Grogu thing. Who was it? What's
really
the actual series?
Mandalorian? Oh yeah, he
Yeah, the
did
Mandalorian.
Mandalorian. Yeah,
It
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
Mandalorian, right?
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. So brilliant in terms of having him continue on as his background music guy, because it's phenomenal in terms of how much value it adds to the movie as a whole. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I the one thing that so I was always scared that the payoff at the end wasn't going to be great,
Hmm.
right? So I was scared. Like, so the one thing I was missing that I got maybe from Oppenheimer or from The Dark Knight is that goosebump level, right? Where like chills when I'm watching something, or you just, or whether it be Dark Knight Rises when Batman climbs up, you want to get like part of it, you want to be a part of it. And I thought like for a large thing where the movie is about this hero coming back home, I didn't feel like the chill or the kind of like excitedness, I suppose, in a lot of ways. And I was thinking that this movie is just going to end like at a whimper. But I think for me, I mean, obviously it got me, and you know which scene, which is when Odysseus meets Argus, right?
Hmm.
And Tom Holland sees that last wag of the tail,
Yeah.
right? I'm like, from there till the end, it was like, damn, this is good. The only thing I don't know if I appreciated is it became a masala Bollywood movie at the end where he's just taking on everybody, all of the suitors. Again, I
Yeah.
don't know what the poem says or whether that if that's how it was, but like it kind of felt very action. It was proper drama and then became full on action with him taking swords and whacking it and you know
Yeah.
all of it. I love Robin Pattinson though in that point where he's just hiding like a
It would have been cooler if, like, in the robe in itself, he had a sword already in there, and then he had the this thing weapon. That
yeah.
would have put him at an advantage opposed to like all of them. Like, because I did think like, what is stopping from all of these guys just coming at him
But they
together at once?
did.
At a later point when he's done a lot of damage already, like initially in itself when he's taking out the bow, you'd think people would start like going at him together as opposed to like running away one by one, right? Like
Uh
uh
Yeah, but also from what I understand is that he's still got a lot of followers. Odysseus, like the reason why the lot of the suitors were there was because they thought that Odysseus was dead, and I think some of them had.
yeah,
But
and you see that as they kneel, right? Like that
yeah,
happens, but at the beginning of it you kind of still see that for it might have been like 10% of
yeah.
those people that were there were actual followers of Odysseus, and the
But
remaining.
also, I just feel like maybe they weren't really the most, if you want to call it,
Ah,
united, right? In terms of all of them were pretty much there for themselves. So they're like, instead of rushing him together, it's like, why not you die and I live
I
to
will.
tell the tale or whatever and
Makes
stuff like that way.
sense.
So because like even those that knelt, I mean, you would think like, okay, if you were really supporting Odysseus rather than kneel, why not help him in the
Yeah.
battle, right? So there again, it was just self-preservation more than anything else, I guess. And I think I just had one or two points more, which was like, as Patty said, the fight scene really didn't do it for me. I mean, yes, probably that's how the story went, was where he takes on all of them and stuff like that way. But I just felt like it could have been portrayed better to kind of make it believable that yes, he is this amazing warrior or whatever and general, and he had a plan of how he was going to take them out, which
Yeah.
was, yes, okay, he's the only one with the bow and stuff like that, which initially they show him using the actual bow as a weapon and striking down opponents. That was nice, but like it just kind of made you feel like this
Uh,
isn't the greatest fight scene you've seen, sort of. and
Yeah, I feel
doesn't
like
give you that moment.
I feel like if he had just taken out, maybe he obviously took out the one guy, right? Straight
Yeah.
arrow to the heart, to the neck. I think if he had just taken out maybe a couple of them and then everybody surrendered, maybe it would have just been okay. But like creating this
Yeah,
massive,
that's the thing, right? Like if he had, like with the initial few arrows that he had, if he had taken out like some of those major characters or ringleaders or whatever you want to call them, which would then kind of really impact the remaining subjects, then you'd be like, okay, not the entire room, but then he takes on, yes, multiple foes. That would have made more sense to me. But yeah, I felt like that's where the movie kind of missed, where I didn't get the goosebumps
yeah.
moment, like you said, like the me when Tom Holland's character realizes it's his dad. Yes, that brought a tear to my eye in terms of the emotional aspect of it, but it was not like the spine tingling moment.
Yeah.
Like even the whole journey back home, like you said, there was so many misfortune kind of moments or obstacles, but I didn't feel like, this is a 10-year journey back home. That didn't really kind of
Hmm.
hit me that much to feel like, oh, this was such a enduring kind of journey where he had to deal with so much. I felt like I was struggling more through the 3 hours than
Well,
he
technically,
did the
it's
journey
a
back home.
3-year journey back home because 7 years he spent on that island in love with, well, I mean,
In
not
love
in
it.
love,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
in that fantasy.
what a guy Matt Damon is, man. He had the choice of Charlize Theron or Anne Hathaway. This guy could have had the best.
Hmm.
He could have been like either living
Charlize Theron plus immortality, right? Like if he
immortal,
stays
yeah.
there, he
To
doesn't
have to not remember
grow
anything. Yeah.
old. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but like I'm saying, even his struggle to kind of gain his memory, I didn't feel that. Like, he's trying to get his memory,
Yeah.
but like I could have, I mean, maybe that's not in the story, but like you should have kind of shown him like, I really want to get my
Hmm.
memory back, which the dialogue says like, oh, what if I had a family or what if I had a kid and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that
Im-
desperateness to kind of figure out stuff, I didn't feel that.
But also, I don't know whether he was desperate also enough. Like,
I don't think so.
yeah,
I
no,
think
that
it's more down
I do
to
get it though. I do get like he was. I wish there was a lot more emotion or like desperation.
Hmm.
But also it made to seem like he just loved eating lotus flower, and so.
Yeah.
But for me, I agree. I think with that, I didn't get the only point where I really got goosebumps when he ties the bow and then he's this thing. Also, isn't that from Ramayana?
I don't know.
I
Is
don't.
it?
Okay. Yeah, I think that's how like Rama gets Sita. I think is like there is a whole thing of him stringing the bow. That's how
Hmm.
he gets it. He or she deems him
Could
worthy. That's one. Yeah. So
could
that's
could be,
interesting
yeah.
how mythology, has different
Converges.
cultures. Yeah, stuff like that. Uh,
Um,
but
to
yeah.
that one scene though, before we kind of like wrap this up, the one with the fight scene, right? Like in the
Hmm.
sense, I thought it would have been really amazing and a show of his strength in terms of when that initial hole happens where the sword is dropped
Hmm.
down. I would have preferred it one sword falling and probably um Pattinson's character grabs a hold of it. But the moment that first sword falls, he kind of through that hole takes out the guy who's dropping it,
Yeah.
thereby ending immediately that whole
Hmm.
this thing
He
of
kept throwing
more
stuff.
coming through. Yeah, because I like the funny aspect of it in the sense that Pattinson kept telling everyone else like do this, do
Go
that,
get the
and stuff
spear.
like that.
Go
He's just
spear,
like,
spear.
yeah, 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 and he hangs back like a spoiled child and stuff like that. I did
Oh,
like that.
but I
Uh,
I hated Pattinson's character. The dude, the way he stuck to his story about like the fact that
yeah,
no, I
he
love Pattinson, but like the character was so annoying. Like
no,
that
that's
guy.
what like
Yeah,
the fact that he's so annoying makes it seem that Pattinson did his
yeah,
job
yeah, yeah, yeah.
well. And to me, that was it. Like in the sense that he's lived that life for so long and lived it to the end of it that he believes
Least, yeah.
he did the right thing. Like he was not supposed to go. So he was not supposed to go. No, he
So he
was
was
supposed to
supposed
go.
to go, but then
Yeah,
he
but then
basically
yeah,
tells. Yeah.
Yeah,
Gives it to
yeah.
a
But
shepherd's son.
in the story he spins, he says that he was supposed to go, but then
Odysseus says no.
Odysseus says no, kind of a
Yeah.
thing. So yeah, yeah.
It was, yeah, I mean, overall, I guess that I think we've covered most of it. Yeah, do let us know if we missed out on anything in terms of the movie. But yeah, overall, I definitely think one should watch it and especially experience it in IMAX. I think the spectacle becomes even more supreme. Unfortunately, we don't have the 70 IMAXs in our here. I don't think you get it in Dubai as well.
No, we
No.
don't.
So
I think there was. I mean, I think no. There was one which was closed down a long, long time ago,
is
which was
it
the
okay?
Medan IMAX, the one which was in. When was Batman Begins out? Because I remember Batman Begins or
Whoa.
Dark Knight was there at that. Like it was there at that point, and then it closed down right
Oh
after that.
five, oh eight. Oh damn.
Oh
That
eight, yeah, around that time, yeah, and then it closed down.
okay.
They
Wow.
replaced that.
Interesting. All right. So I guess that's our short review, short and sweet review of the Odyssey. Much different. Much different from the movie, which is 3 hours long. We've decided to condense it down. But yeah, do let us know what your thoughts were on the movie, and if you agree or disagree with our, views on the film. Don't forget to hit the like button, share with friends and family, and catch us all on our other videos as well.
Sabakabarai, please.
Subscribe to the channel. Until then, catch you all later. See you.